There is just no end to Sri Lanka's economic hardships. With regular power cuts, fuel shortage and widespread agitation, the island nation is living its worst nightmare. Protest demanding the resignation of President Rajapaksa continues in capital Colombo. Sri Lankan police have scaled deployment after thousands of protesters tried to storm Prime Minister Rajapaksa's residence in Tangale on Monday. The enraged citizens want Rajapaksa family out of power, whom they have been blaming for the ongoing crisis. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan opposition parties have rejected President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's invitation to join the proposed unity government, calling it a sham.
No food, no gas, no electricity. And that's exactly why the people are agitating on the streets of Colombo. This is Independence Square of Colombo, one of the iconic places in Sri Lanka's capital. And there you see the youth has hit the street against the Rajapaksa government. And despite the resignation of the cabinet, the councils, here the protest breaks out in a huge number. The youth from Colombo that is protesting against the Govt government. And again, it's the economic crisis, and that has led to this massive situation for almost everyone, be the VIP or a common person. The soaring inflation has hit the everyone. Seeking justice, most of these protesters demanding the Govt government to go. That's exactly what is happening here. We're seeing the protests breaking out all across the country. Now joining me some youth here at this iconic Independence Square. We know why the protest is on, why the protest is breaking out. There have been, several restrictions order. We have seen the curfew in place, emergency in place. But we have seen the cabinet tendering resignation. You think this will resolve the crisis, and this is also somewhere meeting the demand what the people were demanding?
No, I do not. I think this is the drama. This is a real facade. I think there should be a constitutional amendment to basically hold a presidential election soon, because the president can resign and hold a presidential election soon. So that is the only way to solve this impasse.
So what do you think? What triggered this economic crisis in Sri Lanka, and how did it start?
Well, there are so many. Of course, the COVID is one of the reasons. However, COVID is a problem that is affecting all the countries in the world, not just Sri Lanka. And initially, this government handled the COVID crisis very well, to be fair.
It is the disappointment, and now it is now at the extent of anger. And there you see the boys and the girls in a huge number. And this is one of the very iconic places in Colombo, carrying the national flag, the banners and the posters. Now the demand grows for the resignation of President Rajapaksa. Now, when it comes to the people's own life due to the soaring inflation, how much it is affecting the common people of Sri Lanka when it comes to the soaring inflation, the economic crisis?
Actually, we are finished. I mean, people are suffering more than enough. You won't believe, my daughters are in the UK. We are not suffering. My children are not suffering. But I came for the whole country, for the people. So everyone is suffering. So they should go back. They should go home.
How many hours power cut you are seeing in your localities? How many hours are for the power cut?
15 hours.
15 hours?
Yeah.
In Colombo?
Yeah.
That's the traditional protest, and that's a kind of civilian resistance against the government, Rajapaksa administration, the protest breaking over all across Sri Lanka. With this report at iconic Independence Square, I'm Ashutosh Mishra for India Today.
As protests continue to mount amidst the ongoing economic crisis in Sri Lanka, the country's cricket stars are finally breaking their silence against the current regime. From former Test captain Mahela Jayawardene and Sanat Jayasuriya to current stars like Vanindu Hasaranga and Bhanuka Rajapaksa, all have now taken to social media to voice their concerns. Here's a look.
The Sri Lankan economic crisis has spiraled beyond control. And as protests against the government sweep the island nation, the top cricketers from the country have put their weight behind these anti-government protests. Former Test captain Mahela Jayawardene, who is also the coach of Mumbai Indians in the IPL, took to Twitter to voice his concerns, stating how he is sad to see the emergency law and curfew in Sri Lanka. Jayawardene said that the country's leadership have lost the confidence of the people. But Jayawardene is not the only one to raise his voice against the current establishment. Pictures of cricket legend Sanath Jayasuriya joining the protest have also been doing the rounds on social media. Jayasuriya earlier had taken to Instagram calling for his countrymen to unite and stand up to the oppression of the government. Batting great Kumar Sangakkara, who is currently the director of cricket at IPL franchise Rajasthan Royals, took a cautious approach, appealing to the Sri Lankan leadership to put aside destructive personal and political agendas and act in the best interest of the people. Even former pace bowler Lasith Malinga put out a post on Instagram stating he stands together with the people of his country. India's neighbours have been suffering severe shortages of food and other essentials along with record inflation and crippling power cuts. And it's not just the former cricketers who have broken their silence against the current establishment. But the current crop of cricketers too have spoken out against the Gotabaya Rajapaksa regime. Bhanuka Rajapaksa, who is currently with the Punjab Kings, wrote on Instagram that the people of Sri Lanka deserve to be heard and their voices should not be ignored. RCB's Vanindu Hasaranga also asked his countrymen to stay strong for their motherland. Even as troops have been deployed around the island after the government imposed a state of emergency, protests condemning the government continue to defy the curfew. And cricketers who continue to enjoy great popularity in the country could well unsettle the Rajapaksa government with their remarks. Sports Bureau, India.